Hej och välkommen till ytterligare en whiskyrecension med The Whiskey Novice. Ja pojke.
Hello and welcome back to another whiskey review with me, the Whiskey Novice. It's good to have you, and it's time to kick off another new series. This time a series I'm going to call World Whiskey Awareness. And this series, like most of my series, most of my reviews, are there for everyone, for all whiskey fans, all whiskey drinkers. But I suppose to a certain extent, this series is also there aimed for those in the formative years of their whiskey journey, those who are maybe just starting out a little and are aware that there's whiskey provinces, there's Irish whiskey, there's Scotch whiskey, there's American whiskey, maybe they're aware that there's Japanese whiskey, but they're maybe not aware that whiskey is made elsewhere in the world. Now, if I wanted to get into everywhere that it is made elsewhere in the world, this would be a very long series, but I want to try and keep it to 5, maybe 6, somewhere around that episodes, where I'm just going to hit a few other places that whiskey's made that maybe is a little unexpected, and just take it easy. Some of these places maybe aren't that far from home, but we'll get there. Now, what kicked me off on this series was this Mackmyra whiskey from Sweden. You may have seen quite a few reviews popping up lately for Mackmyra, and the reason for that is that Mackmyra asked one of their UK representatives to reach out to some of the reviewers. I've seen quite a few reviews from friends in the reviewing world recently, and I would imagine that they're all doing the same. They've been given these bottles of Mackmyra, different versions from the entry levels of Mackmyra, and asked to give their opinion on it. A worthy cause, something I applaud Mackmyra for. If they've got enough, they've obviously got the faith in their whiskey to ask people to give their opinion on it. So, got to respect them for that. And I was certainly delighted to be asked. And here we go. As you can see, I've had a bit of a go at it. So this isn't just straight out the neck. What do we know? Mackmyra, Swedish distillery, been around about 20 years now. They have a history, there's a story behind their history. I'm not going to go into it. There's other guys have went into it. If you want to know, I'll put a link up here. But very innovative distillery there in Sweden, doing things differently, trying different things. This is part of their entry level, sort of getting into this, the second tier of their entry level. The Mackmyra Svensk, which means Swedish oak. It is bottled at 46.1%. That's good news. Is it non-chill filtered? Is there colour added? No. Now, how do I know this? Because what I will say for them is the information on the bottle is rather pitiful, which is a bit of a markdown there, but the box is slightly different. There's quite a bit of information on the box, and one thing that it does say in the box is the oils that appear when adding water to whiskey bring taste and texture, a phenomenon that sometimes is filtered out for aesthetic reasons. But at Mackmyra, we believe that whiskey should be totally natural, which is why we neither chill filter nor add artificial colour. So there you go. They don't chill filter or add artificial colour because it says so there. Now, this, as I say, Svensk, Swedish oak. This is review number 28, and it's not the only review I'm doing here, because when this review is done, hang around for 28.5 when I will be looking at another Mackmyra, if a little smaller. So, on the nose, pineapple. It's fresh. It is very fresh, citrusy, sweet. Now, I have been giving this a go, and I've been giving it, they've sent me this bottle. They've asked for my opinion, be it good or bad, which I respect. And as I say, I have tried this even from the neck pour. I took a few notes, and I sort of preferred it, I'll be honest with you, from the neck pour. I found almond, marzipan, things like that in the neck pour, which now, as I've got down a bit, just aren't the same. I'm going to add a little bit of water, because when I was doing my tasting notes, I did add water, so I'm going to stick to what I did there and then. Half a teaspoonful, doesn't need much, to say 46.1%, can take a bit. It is fresh, it is pineapple, sweet, green apple, that usual sort of crisp, slight brininess actually. They do use Swedish oak. 10% of what's in this is Swedish oak, matured for at least a period of 18 months. Gentle, some light vanilla notes. There's an awful lot of, this is mostly ex-bourbon cask matured. But I did read somewhere that the bourbon casks are saturated with Oloroso sherry as well. Now, how much of that goes on or is involved, I'm not 100% sure. Light, some peppermint, yes, definitely. It is a nice nose. It's young, yes, it's young, barley sugar, young oak. And there are darker notes deep in there, which maybe suggest that there is a certain sherry influence going on somewhere. Say, I definitely read somewhere that the casks are Oloroso saturated. Might have been for one of the other Mackmyras, not 100% sure. It is a good nose, yes. I'll give it credit for that. It's a good nose. Palate. Sharp, bitter delivery. Some anise. Wine, I keep getting wine notes on this, strangely. And not even just, almost things that I would associate with champagne or sparkling wine. Fresh oak and white pepper again. That is definitely, I would suggest that this is young. Lots of woody notes in there. Extra strong mints, Trebor extra strong mints, definitely, because it's not just a peppermint. It is strong mint. Pine sap. I came back to this today. I haven't looked at it for a few days. Open-minded, wistfully wishing and hoping for something slightly different, but it still does the same thing that I got in the previous times I've got to it. And the woods there's some great things to be said about this. The nose is good. The wood, I can't believe actually, the one thing I will say today is the amount of pine I'm getting off this. Very much so. But it's the finish for me that pulls this right down, that I just cannot get. Every time I try it, the finish just to me is poor. It goes on too long in that I just want it to end. It's so, there's a bitterness in it that and I don't know if it's if that's the Swedish oak influence on it, but there's a bitterness in there which does not sit well in my palate. So bitter, dry and bitter. Now, that bitterness does settle out a bit, but it takes a long time, and it hangs about right on the back of the palate. I would so desperately like to have went back after this review and said, yes, I love this whiskey, but I can't, because as much as it's got good things going for it, I don't know if it's because it's young or what is doing it, but as I say, there's just, for me, just such a bitter thing on the finish and at the back of the palate that just really pulls it back. And I'm going to rate it at that, because I don't want to say any more about it. As I say, what I will say is just, sorry, I do respect Mackmyra for what they're doing. I respect them for having the balls to stand up and say, let's send these out, ask reviewers what they think. But I wouldn't be buying this on that, because, as I said, just the bitterness pulls it down. And as a rating, I would give it, because it's good up to a point. I originally, before I did this, I was giving it 6 out of 10, which is pretty poor for me. But I'm going to push that up half a point, because today, actually tasting it again, I'm finding things on it that I didn't find before. The likes of that pine sap and whatnot on it, did quite like that. So Mackmyra Svensk 6.5 out of 10. Now, moving on to review 28.5. Clean glass, and they also sent me this, which is the Svensk look, which I think is the pronunciation, which means Swedish smoke. Now, I don't generally like to give a rating on a sample bottle or a miniature, whatever you would want to call that, because to me there's not enough engagement with the whiskey itself to have made an appropriate assumption as to whether it's good, bad or indifferent. But this is what I'm working with, and they did ask for my opinion, so while I have it, I'm going to give my opinion now. Because there's so little in that glass, I'm just going to give it, that's probably about just over a quarter of a teaspoonful went into that. This is a different beast altogether. Now, Swedish smoke, this is their, this is Mackmyra's peating, drying of their barley, their malt, with peat smoke, and not just peat smoke, but they also burn juniper wood. To my knowledge, I could be wrong on this, please let me know if I am, but to my knowledge, the maturation process for this is the same as the Svensk Ek. The ex-bourbon cask and the Swedish oak and that Oloroso thing that I mentioned earlier on. As far as I know, that is the same. The difference is how the malt is treated. Previous, because it is peat dried and using these juniper. It is also 46.1%. I take it for granted that because they say on the Svensk that they don't use those things, the colouring and the chill filtering, words escaped me there for a moment, that this is treated the same. Can't think of any reason why it wouldn't be. Now, as I said, this is a different beast. Quite a sticky little number. It is quite viscous. Fresh wood, yet again, but burnt wood, and you can smell the fresh oak in behind it. You can, but it's peat smoke and wood smoke. It's weird. They say that is, I don't know how much influence there is from the juniper, the burning of the juniper, but this isn't just like you would imagine a Scotch peated whiskey. No way, not even close. I like this, brings a smile to my face, and the reason it brings a smile to my face is my grandfather was a clockmaker and fixed watches, whatnot. Did this in his retirement years, did it for people around the country, and he lived literally 2-3 doors away from us whenever I was growing up as a child. And he fixed watches and had an old desk that he worked at, and this old desk was just, as we would say in this country, it was done. It was just an old done desk. But this is what he worked at, and he had all his tools in the drawers, and the drawers were so stiff and sticky with years of age and work and oil that just the drawers would hardly even work, and he just worked there happily. And this is my memory of him, and this pulled it all back. Old dun wood. If there must be like a clock or watch oil that he used specifically, there's maybe high silica or something in it, but I can smell it in this. Obviously this is a personal memory, but it is in it, and I like it for it. It just something pulls back that memory in here. It fires almost Horlicks, which is a malt drink, sweet corn and cereal. There are sweet corn, cereal, camphor, green leaves, yet again fir trees, or yeah, it is fir trees rather than being like pine sap. The citrus is in there, it's at the back. Hairspray, I'm getting that from my wife or my mother whenever they used hairspray, that very specific smell. There is a lot going on in it. Some of the things you have to look for. And that palate pulls that forward even more. There's a dustiness with the malt now, and that wood, sawdust, which I think is very clever, that if you can pick out not just, if a whiskey, not just wood, but even the effect of sawdust, I think is a very, something that they've done with that whiskey is good, it's clever. The bitterness isn't there that's in the Svensk. If the maturation is the same, I don't understand how they've dark rich orange notes, slightly sweet and sour delivery, smoke, but delicate, slight pickled ginger. Once it starts to sell, log fire, good log fire smoke. Finish quite dry, it's lengthy, slightly more pickled ginger, black pepper. Cardboard, peppery but not bitter. Slight bitterness, but just not the same bitterness as the Svensk. That's pretty much that. This I prefer. Would I buy a bottle of it? I don't know. I genuinely don't know. I don't think I would rush out to buy a bottle, put it like that. It's not, don't be buying these looking for a Scotch experience, because they're not. It's probably the closest they are to another whiskey if we're looking at World Whiskey Awareness, but Scotch they ain't. The Svensk, if you were to compare it probably to a Scotch somewhere close, you may be looking at that Highland sort of pineapple-y thing that I would find, maybe a Tullibardine Sovereign, something like that, something along those lines. But as I say, Scotch, they're not trying to be Scotch, although Mackmyra do tend to try and work almost by Scotch Malt Whisky Society laws, strangely. But there you go. What would I give Svensk Rock? Judging it on a miniature, I would give it 7.5. So Svensk 6.5, pulled up half a point. Svensk Rook 7.5. It's good memory whiskey for me. I do respect, as I say, what Mackmyra are doing. They're a young distillery, they're growing. They will continue to improve, I have no doubt. And here's to their future. I hope that everything goes well for them. And I appreciate them doing what they've done here, sending out samples, full bottles, to reviewers and asking for their opinion, be they good or bad. That's pretty much it. That's the first of my series on World Whiskey Awareness. Where I'm at in my next review, I don't quite know. I can't remember myself, but hopefully you'll be back to find out. I'll be here and we'll see what we've got going on then. For now, here's to your good health. Cheers. Hey, thanks for watching my video. Please click and subscribe to be notified of further content.